Love to be able to walk down.
Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
We pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome to the Monday, July 3rd Board of Aldermen meeting. The first order of business is minutes of the previous meeting. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion to approve the minutes, and it has been seconded. Are there any corrections or revisions? Seeing and hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Next is an opportunity for members of the public to address the board on matters not on the agenda. Do we have any members of the public who wish to address the board? Okay, so I'll just ask that you step up to the podium and state your name and town of residence and speak into the mic for the people watching at home. Welcome.
Hi, I'm Brooke Geary. I live in Rutland, and I'm here to talk about the skate park. We do not have a skate park. We have 2 ramps and 2 rails on a basketball court. It's pretty sad. I grew up skating zero gravity. I can't really begin to tell you how important it was to my life. Like, I am who I am because of that skate park. And so that our community doesn't have that is heartbreaking to me. 2 years ago, when they tore out and gave away all the ramps from Flipside, they were like, oh, we'll get COVID grant money. We're going to build a concrete park. It's going to be awesome. Great, great, great. Nothing has happened. And I have been emailing the rec department. I've emailed some of you. I've emailed the mayor. I've gotten no response. So I'm here. I made, just some reasons why a skate park is so important to this community and what it will do. It's definitely expensive, and it definitely is something we need to do right, because it's really easy to screw up building a skate park by hiring the wrong company, by not investing the right amount of resources into it, or by building it incorrectly. But if you build it correctly, it will last for decades. It will provide a safe place for kids to go, a great thing, and it'll just show Rutland's commitment to youth and to this culture and to everything else. So I want to hand this out, but really what we need is a location. And once we settle on a location and how much space we can allot to the skate park, we can raise the money, and we'll do it the old-fashioned way, I'd love to see if we can get federal grants or local grants, state grants, whatever, but we can ask, I work at Killington, we can get them to donate. There's lots of different opportunities to find the money for this project, and I would love to head up the project, help out however I can. And so I just ask that you guys take it into strong consideration and let me know if there's anything more I can do.
Excellent.
All right, thank you. Does anyone have questions?
Yeah, Alderwoman Hooker.
Could you please repeat your last name?
Geary.
Geary. Thank you.
Alderman McCann.
Do you know if there's been any discussion in looking for property that's not city property?
So when I talked to Kim a couple years ago, she said there was, they had talked to Rutland Intermediate School where they have that pump track, and there was potential there. But other than that, I'm not sure, no.
I believe the mayor wanted to add something.
So, it's actually interesting. After our conversation at the RYP event, I came back, I talked to Kim. Kim and Tyler from the rec have actually kind of been thinking about this for a while, not just because of your prompting, but there's other citizens in the city that are really interested in the same thing. So we've been looking at potential different sites where we could put it, all different areas. It's, like you said, the lack of funding is a really challenging piece of the puzzle, and being able to look at land and say, hey, that's a great spot, and then have it gone because somebody bought it is another challenge. So it's definitely something that's in the works that we're thinking about and discussing. But if you can start a fundraising campaign around this, that might really move things along. So just to give you that feedback.
Okay.
Thanks.
Alderwoman Davis.
Just a question, and I'll ask Mayor Dunges, I'm not sure if you can answer it. Is there a reason why our recreation is not interested? Because the skate park was a good facility. I know it was at Giorgetti. There are other uses for Giorgetti, but is it because of cost or lack of revenue or?
Yeah, I mean, from my understanding, the equipment that we took down and got rid of was, was a maintenance thing. Being able to maintain it and use it in that space was difficult, right? I think they're definitely interested, but the concrete skate park, if we're going to continue doing that. So right now there's a temporary setup at White's on one of the courts. We're talking about what's the next step of that. Like, what's the next step? Or like, how do we do the appropriate concrete skate park? And actually, one of the things I brought was like, do we do a bowl? And people were like, no, you don't want to do that because of the maintenance. So we're looking at all the different options. There is definitely interest. It's just there is a large cost to getting it set up and run that we currently don't have budgeted. So it's important to look, through that. Does that answer your question, Chair?
It does, thank
Awesome.
you.
Thank you.
So I'm going to move to refer to the rec committee at some point to maybe have that conversation,
Second.
Second.
just so we have some idea of what the hurdles are, so to speak.
Great, so we have a motion to refer discussion of a skate park to the Recreation Committee, and it's been seconded. Any discussion or debate on the motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. So Alderman Gillum is the Chair of Recreation, so I imagine he'll reach out to you when he schedules that meeting and invite you to come, and any others who are interested. Thank you. Thank you for bringing this. Are there any other members of the public who wish to address the board on items not on the agenda? Seeing none, we'll move on to communications from the mayor.
Do you want to get their contact info before I get going?
I got it right here.
Okay, great, perfect. All right, good evening, everyone. So I have two requests before I get into my usual report. The first request, if you look in your packet, you will see that the first request is an authorization to award the Center Street Underground Utility Scoping Study to Otter Creek Engineering. This is the study that we chose to pay for out of the ARPA funds. It came in under budget even while adding Wales and Willow Street. So we're at $49,750, which is under the $50,000, and we just need your approval to have me sign that. So if you'd like to do that, I'll give you the motion. It's to authorize the mayor to sign a contract with Otter Creek Engineering in the amount
Can
of...
I interrupt you?
Yep.
The scoping study isn't in our
Packet.
packet.
The scoping study is not. It was emailed a while ago from
Okay.
Jim. Sorry. I just meant on the, I meant that it was
On the agenda. Gotcha.
I apologize.
So
So
move to
this,
suspend the rules?
Second.
Great. So we have a motion to suspend the rules. It's been seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes.
great. So the motion is to authorize the mayor to sign a contract with Otter Creek Engineering in the amount of $49,750 to perform the Center Street Underground Utility Scoping Study.
So moved.
Second, and this money was to come from the ARPA funds that we allocated for.
Correct.
Center.
That's correct. It was not supposed to be more than 50,000.
So we have a motion to award, and it has been seconded. Any discussion? Alderman McCann.
For the mayor, what's the timing on this in terms of like needing to have the money ready and when the study would be done?
They want to get started right away.
Okay.
I think they want to complete it within the next 60 days.
Okay.
Went there.
Alderwoman Hooker.
And I may be missing this, but what's the cost?
It's $49,750.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anything additional? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you.
Great, thank you. All right, the second one, this is in your packet if you look at pages 1 through 5. On April 3rd, the Board of Aldermen authorized an RFP for an assessment of 10 Cleveland Ave for the purposes of understanding what the estimated costs would be to abate the asbestos-containing materials at that site. That RFP is found on pages 1 through 5 of your packet. The awarded contract would result in the evaluation of the Lindley site to determine the necessary remediation of asbestos and the resulting report that would come along with that evaluation. The RFP requests responses by July 26th back to the city. I would like to request that the board refer the discussion of the 10 Cleveland Ave asbestos assessment RFP and its funding mechanism to Community and Economic Development.
So moved.
Second.
All right, so we have a motion to refer to Community and Economic Development. It's been seconded. Any discussion? Alderwoman Hooker.
I understand there had been a previous study.
So there's been other studies and surveys at the site that have done basic evaluations. So there's been a phase 1, and that's something different. That, phase 1 looks at other things. This is specific to the asbestos. So we know that there's asbestos on the site. We don't know how much. We don't know how much it's going to cost to remediate. So the idea is this RFP is to find out how much there is and what the cost would be to clean it up. This is not to clean it up, but to find out what the cost would be to clean it up.
But there should be some information regarding asbestos in the previous studies as well.
I believe so, yes.
Yeah, okay, thank
Alderman
you.
Kuperly.
Yes, has the current owner applied for any of that study or any of that cleanup?
Not, I mean, I know that there's been some work done. I don't know to what extent, Larry.
Thank you.
All right, we have a motion to refer. It has been seconded. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes.
Great, thank you. All right, so the report. So what we've done, the city was awarded a $900,000 Vermont Community Development Program grant for Hospital Heights. This is the grant that we were asking for $1 million for. You know, a lot of effort behind this, meeting with the ACCD committee that reviewed this, and we actually ended up getting more money than we thought. So in conversations with Barbara, usually we see about $750,000 for this, so to get the full 900 or 900 out of $1 million ask is great. Big win for the redevelopment authority in Rutland City. Thanks to Barbara for putting in the extra effort and driving this every step of the way. With the award of the NDA, the neighborhood designated area, the development area that we were granted from ACCD last month, Rutland City followed up and applied for the infill development case study being run by the state of Vermont in conjunction with its consultants as part of their Vermont Homes for All toolkit. So this is a toolkit that the state's putting together to say this is how you can build and develop in your neighborhood, city, town, whatever it happens to be. And part of that is doing a study in different cities in the region. So Rutland was, out of 25 that applied, one of 5 cities or municipalities that was able to participate in this. The state will begin its study shortly, which will include a walking tour scheduled in mid-October throughout the city. So what we're currently doing, the meeting with Agency of Human Services and Department of Children and Families on June 28th that I had mentioned previously went well. The state is looking to support the efforts of our partners here in Rutland around both the healthcare and the housing, the homeless situation in that population here. I'll be meeting with the Rutland caucus of our legislatures on the 10th to discuss the transitional housing campus and how the state is looking at the proposal that came from our office. Once we're a bit further along with the state, though, once we start to find out if they're going to be able to fund this and whatnot, I'm going to come back to the Board of Aldermen, ask to put this in committee so we can have a discussion about how we want to implement this, the way we want to implement it, and what we want to do to make sure that we're working with our partners. Again, to Sharon's question last time, this isn't something that the city's going to own or manage or maintain. We're just trying to facilitate moving things along to try to help this community. But we're going to be working with our partners on that. Cape Air and Boutique Air are both bidding on Rutland's essential air service. So Cape Air is currently the contract holder. All of the letters and recommendations are due on July 14th. So this week, I and some others will be meeting with both the airlines to hear their final presentations and then choose who we're going to recommend to move forward to the federal DOT. So this is it's a group of letters that basically go to DOT for them to make the decision on that. And so what we're doing next, capital improvement planning will officially begin this week and next here at City Hall. So with the 1% option tax starting to be collected, we recognize that now is the time for us to start putting together our database of capital improvement projects. I went over this with the department heads this morning, and we've actually already gotten a few things on that list from certain department heads, but I've asked to go beyond just, projects. We're looking at needs, we're looking at capital assets. What can we put into the capital improvement plan, into the capital improvement budget, maybe a better way to say that, that will reduce the burden on the general fund and reduce the burden on the taxpayer overall. So I'm starting that process now. I'm collecting that data. That'll, you'll continue to hear updates from me on that over the next few months as we come closer to budget season, and the hope is to kind of have both of those things aligning around the same time. This process is intended to take the cost of these projects and expenditures off that general fund, so that's where hopefully the focus in how we prioritize things. Actually, it's this one. So the last thing on the list for this evening, soon we'll be setting the tax rate. At the end of the next Board of Aldermen meeting on July 17th, we will adjourn to a time certain. We must set the rate by June 20th. I would suggest trying for the June 19th date to ensure that the Treasurer's Office has ample time needed to get everything taken care of and bills printed. Any questions, comments, discussion? Sorry.
I'll just say,
Davis?
the issue was referred to Finance to review how we set the tax rate, and that meeting will be scheduled. I asked the clerk to schedule it for the 13th, so it'll be a week before, so have some time to understand what goes into setting the tax rate, and certainly getting a hold of the treasurer with any questions you might have before the tax rate is set.
And I just asked that everyone expect that we would convene here on July 19th to set the tax rate.
One of the most important things you do.
Any questions for the mayor? Alderwoman Hooker.
Thank you. I know that transitional housing is our immediate worry, but are we doing things to look towards long-term housing, both for the homeless, low-income, and market-rate housing in the city? I'm hoping that we're going to be able to work something, whether through committees, certainly, and private sector, to be able to come up with more housing in this area, which is desperately needed.
Yeah, that's a great point. I know that the Housing Authority and the Housing Trust have different projects in their sites, which is going to be a big part of that. That's something that, every, 1 or 2 times a month, we're meeting with the ad hoc housing group, talking about how to build that permanent housing, at the all different levels. And we have at the city already done the rental rehabilitation revolving loan fund, which right now has $300,000 in it to loan out, and we're hoping that very shortly here that'll be available and the program will kick off. And then our hope is that we hear back on the 10% for Vermont, and that NeighborWorks as our partner can help loan additional funds to work on those things as well. So,
Thank you.
you're welcome.
Alderman McCann.
I think one other thing that has happened since the last time we met is the mini split. The heat pump is in this room, so thank you to the mayor for kind of spearheading that. But as that was being constructed, somebody did bring up a concern to me that the equipment that had been used to put it was parked partially in the sidewalk, which then allowed or required some sort of temporary diversion into the street with cones, which worked for able-bodied people, but not necessarily for people with various disabilities. So just a reminder for everybody, as you're doing projects like that, try to keep representation in mind for all the people that are using the sidewalk when you're shifting use like that.
Very good.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. All right, next we have additions and deletions to the agenda. I'd like to remove the report from the Environmental Sustainability Committee so that Alderwoman Tadio has additional time to review the Green Fleet policy with department heads.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion or debate? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Any additional additions or deletions to the agenda? All right, moving on. Reports and letters from department heads and officials. First, we have Barbara Spaulding from the Rutland Redevelopment Authority with a request that the board designate the RRA as grant administrator for the 120 Maple Street project, and there's a memo on page 6 of your packet.
Thank you. So this form is just one step in meeting the award conditions of the grant, and it is my hope to be here at the next meeting asking you to authorize the mayor to actually sign the grant agreement. But the environmental review release has allowed the Hales to start work at their project. So it's exciting for 120 Maple Street.
I'd entertain a motion to suspend the rules.
So moved. Second.
All right, we have a motion to suspend the rules. It's been seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Alderwoman
We'll make a
Tadio.
motion to designate the RRA to undertake the grant administration for the project at 120 Maple Street.
Second.
All right, so we have a motion. It's been
Circulate.
seconded.
Circulate for signature.
And to circulate for signature.
Very good. Does the seconder approve of that? I don't know who seconded the motion.
I second the motion.
You good with
I am
circulating?
good with, thank you.
Any discussion?
You have something in your mouth.
All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you.
Next, we have Treasurer Markowski with year-end accounting and assignment requests, which were emailed to you earlier today.
Hi, thank you, and I do apologize for the delay in getting this out to you today. Really busy in the treasurer's office this time of year. So I just want to go through what I presented to the board for the public, because right now the focus that I have and in my department is to prepare for the tax rate. Like Alderwoman Davis said, this is the most important thing that we're going to do, is the tax rate. So For the next 3 weeks, we'll be working on reconciling accounts, analyzing revenues and expenses, evaluating our year-end unassigned fund balance, and calculating a surplus if we have one. So, and then we just went over the rules for having that set by July 20th. So I will do my best to have a good idea on the 13th when we meet to start pulling some numbers together. What does that tax rate look like for this year? So I'll do my best to have that for Finance Committee, and then a better idea when we sit down and actually set the rate. But there are a few things that I wanted to take care of tonight that will help us in doing this. So we've had some discussion about the surplus and what to do with it. Last year we had a surplus of $1.1 million, and that was, the board assigned that for taxpayer relief. So in doing that assignment, what I'm asking the board tonight is to release that assignment so those funds are now available for the next tax rate calculation. So I would request the board to consider my request to remove that assignment of those funds.
I'll move to suspend the rules.
Second.
So we have a motion to suspend the rules. It's been seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
And I'll move to remove the assignment of $1,192,137.67 for funds that were held for taxpayer relief, to assign them to the FY24 tax rate calculation.
Second.
So we have a motion. It's been seconded. Alderwoman Hooker?
Just a question
Yeah.
and just an explanation of what this means for the taxpayer.
Okay, I
Just
wanted to go
clarify.
over what that impact was last
Okay,
year.
great.
So last year, the municipal rate was up $43.20 on a $150,000 assessment. Last year, we also had a reduction in the education rate, so it offset. So you didn't see that $43 because there was some offsetting. If we hadn't applied that surplus to the tax rate, the ratepayer would have seen an increase of $220 for the year. So it does have a significant impact. So when you're making decisions about surplus and where that goes, please keep in mind how much that means to the taxpayer. So, and we have already, I didn't bring my notes, but we already know that education rate is going to be up this year for both the residential and more on the non-residential. So the impact is significant. We've seen over the years of having that. I would, at this point, we close the books on Friday. I'm not prepared to tell you what the surplus is or even project what it is at this point. There's a lot of work to be done to get there. So I just want to say that about the surplus and the assignment. So I thank you for that. The next item that I had was.
We have a motion. We still have
Oh, I'm sorry.
we have to vote on.
Sorry, I was not a quick study when
Okay.
it comes to numbers. So the 1.1 million was assigned last year. It lowered the tax rate for the taxpayers. Why remove that? What does that language mean?
That makes it available for this year's calculation.
Okay.
So it says, okay, now we're going to take that assignment off. It becomes part of our unassigned fund balance that we work with to, the tax rate is complicated. So we're going to take that and then we're going to say, what did the voters approve for a budget? What did we, how much do we need to raise in taxes? And we're
Okay.
going to come up with, do we have a surplus?
All right.
And how much we could offset the tax.
So it affected last year, what taxpayers got a lower tax rate. And this year, to assign that same amount is going to have.
No, we're going to have another discussion. Tonight, we're going to remove that assignment.
Okay.
Making
And-
it available.
okay, that's
We're
where
gonna
I
have
was
another
confused,
discussion on-
yeah.
Boy, I hope we have 1.1 million to give to the taxpayers this year. I'm not sure if we will or not.
Okay.
But we're going to have a discussion when we set that tax rate.
Okay.
There's a lot of pieces to this, so.
Okay, thank
yeah.
you.
Okay, thanks.
Additional questions before we vote on the motion? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Now to number 2, Mary.
Okay, and on item number 2, at the last meeting, the board had approve the assignment of $56,000 for homeless support. When I was going ahead and doing those numbers, it appeared that the intent was to take that entire donation that we received. So I would just ask the board to consider the request to increase the approved assignment from $56,000 to $56,004, just if you would like.
Alderwoman Tadio?
Motion to suspend the rules?
Second.
So we have a motion to suspend the rules. It's been seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes.
Motion to increase the approved assignment from 56,000 to 56,400.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and it has been seconded. Any discussion? Alderman McCann.
I think it was at the finance meeting where we talked about some of the ARPA funds, and when you looked back at it, there had been some interest, and there was a little bit more. Is this the sort of thing where has this been sitting in a bank account, and there might be like a couple extra dollars that we might have to talk about again at the next meeting, or is this definitely all of it?
This is all of it. This was exactly what we received from the hotel, and I think that the intent was to do the whole thing. So when I was doing year-end adjustments, I saw it and thought, let's ask.
Great,
when we
thanks.
had an opportunity. So,
Additional discussion, questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
thank you. I'm sorry, I have I could have gone on with this. For year-end issues, when I was looking at accounts payable last week, I was noticing that the recreation budget is, we're putting some things through, we're a little bit over budget in some of the departments, and I realized that we still had money in the white fund. The money in the white fund was set up many, many years ago to support the pool. Now, when those funds were extinguished, we took out the pool bond, and during that construction phase, we had interest that was earned. So there's $7,200 that hasn't been expended, and what I'd like to do is transfer that to the general fund and try to offset some of what spending in the recreation department, and we're paying $125,000 a year on that pool bond, and just kind of offset some of that. So I would request the transfer from that white fund to the general fund as of June 30th, if you are so inclined.
I'll move to suspend the rules.
Second.
Motion to suspend the rules has been seconded. Any discussion? Alderwoman McClure?
Thank you. I just have a procedural question. I see here that Treasurer Markowski's request is not on the agenda, marked as a separate line item. Are we still able to vote on that, or is that just getting?
Yes, by suspending the rules, we're able to.
Got it. Awesome. Thank you.
Department
Good.
heads can bring it.
Any additional questions? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes.
Okay, thank you.
So, we need a motion on
The
that.
motion to suspend the rules was
Okay, you
made.
have
So now we need
That's
to,
what we voted on,
We'll move,
and that's what passed.
$7,200.
yeah, $7,252 and 6 cents.
From the White's Fund to the general fund.
Second.
All right, so we have a motion to transfer the remaining funds from the pool bond to the general fund, and it has been seconded. Any discussion?
just a procedure.
Alderman Gillum.
In your motion in here, it says the pool bond.
Oh, and I meant to say pool bond, but it should be from the white fund.
Okay.
It was from the pool bond,
Okay,
but
I
yes.
just wanna make sure
Sorry
we're-
about that. Thank you.
Saying the right thing here.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
Okay, thank you. We'll go on to the next one. These are for information, so I'm not going to ask you to think too much, but I am, because this stuff is important. On Friday, I received notice from the bond bank that our borrowing was approved. The borrowing that we have is $2 million from a streets bond that the voters approved in March of 2019. This will complete the borrowing for that $5 million streets and sidewalks project from 2019, and an additional $1 million from the streets bond that the voters approved this March. So just trying to give you a heads up. That document will be coming hopefully to the next meeting to be signed. The interest rate is not set yet by the bond bank until that last week in July. Those funds will be available early August, but just wanted to put you on notice that that is coming. So, All right, and then the last item that I had is, and usually at year end, we're between collection of May 15th was our last collection. Our next collection will be August 1st. So cash-wise, it's a little bit, we're a little bit strapped for cash sometimes. So I wanted to point this out because we are at a much lower cash level than I had anticipated, but I do want to make you aware of that. We monitor the city cash level daily. Also consider, do we have adequate funds or are we going to need short-term borrowing? I believe that we have adequate funds on hand to cover what we have coming, and I look ahead, what am I expecting for revenues? We just build out water and sewer, so we'll start seeing those collections, so those will help with the cash balance. We'll also be receiving a significant amount on state education tax, and we're just really waiting for that bond money to be available because we've already been spending on that. And we have a really, I report out every time that sewer fund has really been lagging in cash, and there's one project that has been outstanding. We're waiting on a $500,000 reimbursement. So I have those, so I'm really looking at, do we want to do short-term borrowing when we don't have to with interest rates high? So we're just watching that, but I want to make you aware of that. So I note that for information. And any questions?
I don't see any. Thank you.
Good, thank you.
All right, moving on to reports of standing committees. First is Alderwoman Davis with the Finance Committee report from June 22nd. This can be found on pages 7 to 14 of your packet.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As stated, the committee met on June 22nd. Members present were Alderman Barbagallo, Savage, Adams, McCann, and Chairman Davis. Also present was Mayor Dunges, President Talbot, Alderman Tadio, Gillum Kupali. Also present was Randall Smathers from the library and Andrew Strinkste, for building and zoning. Randall presented the committee with the history of the library and when and what upgrades had been done over the years. In applying for this ARPA grant available to libraries, he is hopeful to improve sightlines, create a wow factor in the children's room, create a teen space, connect the circulations and help desks, fix the HVAC systems, to name a few of the improvements. The request before the board is to show community support for the grant, and the request is $18,000. The money would go to NBF Architects and the Engineers of Vermont to begin the initial evaluations. The motion is to approve the request with the funds to come from Zamias totaling $9,000 and $9,000 from the funds formerly known as ARPA. The motion passed 5-0, and I so move. As stated in committee, the discussion was different for the funding at the time, and I had formed the committee that I would speak with the treasurer on her return. We were unsure about the amount that was left in Zamias. We talked about $7,000. It was a little greater. And at the time, the treasurer had said that the ARPA funds were not available because we were doing a matching grant. But Russell had changed the use of the funds to do actually architecture and engineering, so the ARPA funds were appropriate. So that's why the motion has changed. I did kind of mention it to some of the committee members as we went through. Again, as I stated, the motion passed 5-0, and I so move.
Second.
All right, so we have a motion to approve the request from the Rutland Free Library for funds to come from Zamias and the funds formerly known as ARPA. And it's been seconded. Any discussion?
And that should close the Zamias fund.
Alderman McCann.
Would it be worth putting the language in here that says whatever the remaining amount of Zamias fund is will go towards it in case we have 18 cents left over, just to make sure we close it out? Or
I think it's closed, at least
Okay.
for the treasurer.
All right.
I think it's closed. Yeah.
I would say that I love that idea, but there's a significant balance in there, so we're continuing to earn interest. So once we spend that down, we'll probably do a transfer.
Okay.
So there's funds in Zamias that have been
Earmarked.
designated for certain
yeah.
things. We just
To
have
other
not spent them.
projects.
We haven't spent it yet.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
The second discussion to the committee was to use $560,000 of surplus to create new positions and not be used for taxpayer relief. The mayor outlined his request as followed, and attached is, for those who were not present, was his handout showing what personnels are being requested and what their duties would be. The mayor outlined, stated his request as follows: ZPW commissioner position will need funding as the position has changed. The executive administrator to the mayor serves in the office manager for the mayor and other duties. A zoning technician manages zoning permits, zoning activities, and frees up current administration to do planning. A grant writer, RRA, dedicated grant writer and project coordinator to capture all available funds. DPW engineer technician 2, learning from the current position holder who would be planning to retire. There was much discussion regarding the request, as this is taxpayer dollars, and I felt it should be returned to them. It was also discussed that this was Mayor Lair's budget and these positions were not at the time voter approved. The support was that the new mayor was elected and so was his ideas. Positions were discussed and what was needed. The committee did go into executive session for a brief period of time to discuss personnel issues that are being proposed. Also discusses what positions were needed and necessary. Could they or should they wait for the first budget by Mayor Dunges? The motion was to approve the assignment of $560,000 of anticipated budget surplus to the FY24 fiscal year budget and additional RRA funding. And I so move. The motion passed 4-1.
Second.
All right, so we have a motion and it has been seconded. Any discussion?
So, if I may,
Davis.
I still will vote against this. I do think taxpayers have an expectation of unspent funds, that they have an opportunity to weigh in on budget items, that they have a voice, and I think in some of these positions, we put the cart before the horse. A couple of them are union positions. I'm sure that there'll be ongoing discussions, but there is processes that have to occur. An RRA position, we don't fund an RRA position. So I do have concerns. I think there is an opportunity to have further discussions, to return some revenue to the taxpayers, to build some of these ideas into the new mayor's new budget, and allow a voice of the taxpayers. Thank you.
Alderman McCann.
Thanks. I'll just share that I believe that creating these positions proactively prepares us to meet present and future demands, allowing for a more vibrant and responsive city. While caution is important with surplus funds, I feel that delaying the allocation of these funds to the creation of these positions would result in missed opportunities, unrealized efficiency gains, and a failure to improve the way we work to meet the needs of our residents. And I'll just add that with the language in here, it's the assignment of up to $560,000. So if our surplus is less than that, the mayor doesn't get those funds. He would have to figure out what to cut from that. And any surplus over that does still go back to the taxpayers, or I presume that's how we would probably use that. So something for everybody to keep in mind as we vote on this.
Thank you. Alderman Copley.
I think as our treasurer had pointed out, that the funds that in the past have gone back to the taxpayer. Is that correct? And at this point in time, we don't have a number regarding the surplus. Is that correct? Okay, so I would probably, again, agree that this should be tabled, put down.
Treasurer Markowski.
I was not at the meeting, so I have read the committee report. I have read the report in the Rutland Herald. I also was given the handout that was given to the board. I would respectfully request tonight that this board hold off on making any decisions with regard to use of year-end surplus. We don't know what it looks like. I didn't see from what I read that we considered what our priorities were for the city. Do we have to spend $560,000 to accomplish its needs? From what I read, I did not gather where we made that clear, like up to 560, so we're gonna fund half of a position if we have the money. I think that prioritizing, reviewing, having job descriptions, and outlining why these are necessary. I don't see where that was done, and I apologize I was not at the meeting, but I would really ask the board to consider waiting, getting a little bit more information. Where do these fit in? Are they union positions? Are they non-union? How do they fit into the structure in this city and the need?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Additional, Alderwoman Hooker?
Do we have any idea when we would know what the potential surplus will be?
When we set the tax rate.
Okay, so that comes on the 19th, or the 20th?
Presumably the 19th, yeah.
Yeah,
The
and I would
19th?
hope to have some information on the 13th, which would help you a little bit with priorities. What does it look like if we fund one? What does it look like if you fund, there is an impact to the taxpayers. I don't hear taxpayers that come into the treasurer's office complaining that there are not enough employees in the city, but they're complaining about the high taxes. So I think that's something to consider, just my thoughts.
Additional comments, questions? Alderwoman McClure.
Thank you very much. I'd just like to follow back to what Alderman McCann had said, that the creation of these positions is essential for the creation of a vibrant and dynamic community. We need a succession plan for individuals within DPW. We need to make sure that we have grant writers. We need to make sure that these positions are here, are available for people who are moving into this community and want to work within the municipality. It sounds like being up to the $560,000, note the up to there is incredibly fair in awarding the leniency of what exactly that surplus may be. And I feel that the motion to table is almost a little redundant, as this has already gone through committee once and been approved. Thank you.
Is there a motion to table?
I don't believe there's I think Alderman Kubley mentioned tabling it, but I don't think he made a formal motion. And we have a motion on the floor right now, which is to approve these, which came out of committee.
I misunderstood Treasurer Markowski's request then. My apologies.
Thank you.
Then I'll put a
Alderman
motion
Gillen?
to table the matter for at least a couple of weeks.
Second.
All right, we have a motion to table, and it has been seconded. And by table, you mean postpone to our next meeting?
Or until the treasurer is ready to give us the information.
Okay. So we have a motion to postpone discussion of this to our next meeting. It has been seconded. That's not debatable. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
No.
It sounds like the noes have it.
I would think so.
Yeah. I don't hear that well. Did my best. All right, so the motion to table or postpone failed, so we have the original motion on the floor.
Roll call vote.
Okay, and Alderwoman Davis has asked for a roll call vote.
Okay, you ready?
Yes.
All right, Alderman Hooker,
No.
Alderman Barbagallo,
Aye.
Alderman Savage,
Aye.
Alderman Kubley,
No.
Alderman McCain,
This is
Can you clarify if this is voting on the motion to table?
No,
This is
This
for
is the motion.
approving
This
the
is
mayor's
motion to
request.
approve.
This is I'm sorry. This is a motion to approve
Yes,
or a
this-
motion to table?
we voted down the motion to table.
Okay, that's what I
This
thought.
is the motion to approve the reallocation of the $560,000 that
So
came out
in
of the
that-
finance committee and
I
passed.
would change my vote.
so you want to change your vote?
Yes.
Is that okay?
It's fine with me.
Okay.
I
Alderman
was
McCann,
confused.
Aye.
Alderwoman Tadio,
Aye.
Alderman Adams,
Aye.
Alderman Gillum,
No.
Alderwoman McClure,
Aye.
and Alderwoman Davis.
No.
All right, motion passes.
That is correct.
All right. Next, we have Alderwoman Tadio with a general committee report from June 27th. This can be found on pages 15 to 17 of your packet.
So the General Committee met on June 27th. The topic was an assessment of how well Rutland is meeting its diversity, equity, and inclusion goals as outlined in the Declaration of Inclusion. Committee members present were myself, Alderman Copley, Alderwoman Savage, Alderman Barbagallo, Alderwoman Hooker. Others present were Mayor Dungus, Alderman Talbot, Norm Cohen, Bob Harnish, Alderwoman McClure, and Alderman McCann. The general meeting was called to order at 5:30 p.m. The purpose of the meeting was to discuss how well Rutland is doing at meeting its diversity, equity, and inclusion, DEI goals, as outlined in the Declaration of Inclusion. The declaration was written by Bob Harnish, Norman Cohen, and Al Wakefield, and they have been working to have cities and towns sign on. Rutland has signed the Declaration of Inclusion, so therefore should be working to implement the goals outlined in the Declaration. Upon review of the implementation guide, Rutland can do more to further the goals of supporting diversity, centering equity, and becoming a more inclusive community. Rutland has taken steps, including making Juneteenth a citywide holiday, creating a declaration in support of Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month, and issuing a proclamation in support of Pride Month. Suggestions to further the goals of the declaration include forming a diversity, equity, and inclusion DEI committee, and ensuring implicit bias training is mandatory for city staff, including the fire department, police department, recreation department, and Department of Public Works. Other suggestions include posting copies of the statement on our website, in City Hall, at the police department, in the fire department, and at the rec center. Bob Harnish suggested that we apply to the Equitable and Inclusive Communities Grant Program, which offers grants of up to $10,000 per municipality to assist cities and towns in implementing DEI principles. A motion was made to direct Rutland City to apply for the Equitable and Inclusive Communities Grant through the RRA. The motion passed 5-0, and I so move.
Second.
All right, so we have a motion to apply for the Equitable and Inclusive Communities Grant in collaboration with the RRA, and that's been seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
Mayor Dungus will put the declaration on the city website and work on ensuring that it is posted around the city, starting in City Hall. He will also print it in our next city newsletter. Alderman Copley mentioned that we should work on DEI in our schools and ensuring that students understand DEI from an early age. The committee decided that Alderman Barbagallo, as the school board representative, could present this to the school board, but this is not in the scope of the Board of Aldermen. The committee discussed the pros and cons of creating a diversity, equity, and inclusion committee and decided that the work that this committee could do would fall under the general committee. A motion was made to amend the language of the charge of the general committee to include matters of diversity, equity, and inclusion. The motion passed 5-0, and I so move.
Second.
All right, so we have a motion to amend the language of the charge of the general committee to include matters of diversity, equity, and inclusion, and it's been seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
And lastly, a motion was made to refer to the Human Resources Committee to work on reviewing the language in city job applications to ensure that it encourages diverse applicants, to review the places we search for applicants, including which websites we post on for candidate recruitment, to review our hiring practices, and to review the city's implicit bias training policies. The motion passed 5-0, and I so move.
Second.
All right, so we have a motion to refer discussion of several items related to DEI to the Human Resources Committee, and it has been seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you.
Meeting adjourned at 6:15 p.m.
All right, great. Next is Alderwoman Savage with a report from a meeting of the Charter and Ordinance Committee on June 28th. This was emailed to you on June 30th.
The Charter and Ordinance Committee met on June 28th, and members present were Alderman Savage, Copley, Barbagallo, Alderwoman Hooker, Tadio, and Alderman McCann. Others present were the President of the Board of Aldermen, Michael Talbot, Alderwoman Davis, McClure, Alderman Gillum, Attorney Bloomer, and Treasurer Markowski. The meeting was called to order at 5:32 p.m. And after the meeting came to order, it was determined that the parking language on the agenda had not been properly warned to include proposing fines. It was decided that a discussion on this portion could not be held, so it was struck from the meeting. So we moved on to speak about the, Attorney Bloomer explained the implementation of the new 1% local options sales tax, Title 12, rooms, meals, and entertainment tax, would need to be amended so that the entertainment portion wouldn't be taxing anyone twice in the same transaction. Treasurer Markowski remarked that she liked the new language in the proposed amendment to the entertainment portion of Title 12 prepared by Attorney Bloomer, who also explained that if the local option tax were to be removed, then the entertainment portion would still apply. Alderman McCann asked the amount already being captured by the entertainment tax, and Treasurer Markowski said it was a small portion of Title 12, it was approximately $15,000, had been captured by the tax this year. Alderwoman Tadio asked what that covered, and Treasurer Markowski explained that the room, meals, and entertainment taxes collected under the Title 12 goes to the city's bottom line, and that going forward, the entertainment portion would be included with the local option tax. She also commented that the entertainment was a small portion of the $525,000 budgeted for the rooms, meals, and entertainment tax, and it is likely that this portion would be made up by the recent opening of several new downtown restaurants. Alderwoman Davis asked what the local 1% local option tax applies to, and Attorney Bloomer explained that it would apply to anything that the state sales tax is charged on. Alderman Barbagallo asked about determining the correct amount that would come to Rutland due to the shared zip codes with Rutland Town and Mendon, and Treasurer Markowski said that it was up to the businesses to track that in their reporting to the state. Alderwoman Tadio made the motion to adopt the full language to the amendment to Title 12 as presented in committee. The motion passed 5-0, and I so move.
Second.
All right, so we have a motion to adopt the full language in the amendment to Title 12, Rooms, Meals, and Entertainment Tax as presented in committee. And I'll read that language. Notwithstanding the foregoing, such entertainment tax shall not apply to any gross receipts against which a local option sales tax has been assessed by the City of Rutland pursuant to Section 8.9 of the city's charter. Did I get that right, Attorney? Any discussion or debate? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
Just a question, Mr. Chairman, if I may. Once the collection starts to occur, we haven't had the discussion of how much is going toward capital improvements, how much will go to pension. Is that currently in a committee?
I think
Thought it was?
it is.
I don't recall, that's why I want to make sure that it's somewhere.
I could research that, or we could go ahead and refer it to,
Finance.
I thought it was in finance.
was it
I think it
in,
was in, I don't know if it's, I don't think it's in finance.
I believe it was referred to finance back before the election when we talked
Oh,
about
it
it.
could be. I don't know, but that's fine. Let's
let's make a new
re-refer.
referral, and if
Let's
I find out
re-refer.
it's sitting in committee, when I can do research after this meeting, we'll address that.
We can re-refer to finance
I
committee.
will
How's that?
re-refer that to finance.
Second.
Okay, so we have a referral to discuss how we will be spending this local option tax, and it has been referred to finance, been seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes.
Mr. President,
We talked about.
Yep.
just a comment, I was in a store today, and today is the 3rd of July. It's still 6% in one of the stores still, so I think there's gonna be some trouble converting. I think we're gonna lose some revenue this month, because not all the stores are converted over, so I think when we're talking about it in finance, we need to talk about, we can't spend all this money because a lot of it might not be there yet, so just keep that in mind. There is going to be a transition piece here. It's going to take a while for everybody to get on board. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have reports of representatives, which we have none. Reports of select committees, we now have none. Petitions, letters, miscellaneous communications. We have a special event permit request from the Downtown Rutland Partnership for Friday Night Live events to be held on July 21st, August 11th, and September 1st. This can be found on pages 19 to 25 of your packet. Did you want to say anything, Tiffany or Brian from the Downtown Partnership? Welcome.
Hi, everyone. If you don't know us, I'm Tiffany. This is Brian. We're from the Downtown Rutland Partnership. We're very excited to announce that the Friday Night Live free music series is returning to downtown Rutland for 3 weekends. We have one in July, one in August, and one in September. Friday Night Live is the Downtown Rutland Partnership's largest and most well-known event series. In 2023, we're going to have 3 expanded events. So they're going to run the existing footprint that we've had on Center Street to also include a section of Merchants Row. This fun and free outdoor concert series between the 3 events draws 12,000 plus community members together for some fun. They get to enjoy games, entertainment, and activities really for all ages. In this concert series, we are going to feature the Uprooted Band on July 21st, which is right around the corner, Dirty Deeds, an AC/DC experience, and the Dave Matthews Tribute Band is going to round out those 3 concerts. These events have always been free to attend, free to participate, as community members really anticipate our events as an accessible form of fun and a means of engagement between businesses and their neighbors. When residents are asked what they love about living in the city, our events are usually the top of people's list. People like to mention them. And through events like these, we help to foster a community where folks want to live, work, and recreate. Additionally, at a time when it's easier than ever just to shop online, it's critical that we give downtown businesses more opportunities for this economic activity. Friday Night Live brings thousands of people to our streets and to shops of downtown Rutland. The events help to build and foster relationships between residents, visitors, and the downtown business community. And Friday Night Live incentivizes return visitors to the district and to its businesses. While we've already coordinated the event already with DPW and Rutland City Police, we hope to have your support as we continue to provide this and expand this opportunity. We did speak that this may be contingent on the new city attorney signing off on it, but we don't foresee any issues. But Brian will kind of go over some more logistics of the event.
Yeah, I can answer any questions logistically if you have any with the expansion.
All right, first, I would ask, do we have a motion to approve
I'll move to suspend the rules.
Second.
suspend the rules? We have a motion to suspend the rules. It's been seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes.
And I'll move for the approval of Friday Night Live for July 21st, August 11th, and September 1st from 5 to 10 p.m. for the Downtown Rutland Partnership from Center Street and Merchants Row.
Second.
Can I ask that you amend pending the city attorney?
City attorney sign off.
All right, Alderwoman Savage.
I just wanted to ask what part of Merchants Row was going to be.
It'll be from essentially where Center to West Street, so the entirety of Center to West Street.
We've already reached out to some of the businesses over there, like Wonder Fee, its new location. We thought really created a nice opportunity to also bring that in. We've spoken with Eric Millette about centering the stage a little bit to also include that and have it feel like it wasn't just an addition, but really thought about in the design of it. And we're being really thoughtful with how we flow traffic through the event. So having some big anchors on the top of Center down to Merchants. So really having that flow of traffic.
Additional questions? Mayor Dunges?
So I got an email after one of the last events on Center Street about the trash cans that are on Center Street not being enough to handle the event. Can you just talk about how you're going to handle this?
Yeah, so we have Casella donate trash cans to the event. They're pop-ups, and we also go out afterwards and sweep and go through trash cans, literally go through them to make sure that we don't have an overflow issue.
Fantastic.
Mm-hmm. And also too, I'll say that this year we've also really expanded our communication with DPW. So for events like this, we do plan to coordinate having street sweeper come out sooner than it would if there wasn't an event. So making sure that we don't have any sanitary issues.
Any Alderman McCann?
So Merchants south of Center then becomes kind of a dead end, or is the plan to have traffic do a U-turn there if they end up down there in front of, Bricks or Pyramid or Star Barber or anything like that?
So they'll have it closed at the intersection, I guess, right up here at Washington. Starting at 3 p.m. So Center and Merchants will be open until 3 p.m. when we'll close it down. Evelyn, though, will be closed at 9 a.m. for stage setup.
Okay.
Alderman Barbagallo.
In any of your literature advertising this, which I think is a great event, first off, do you promote using the parking deck at all to avoid overcrowding the Walmart parking lot so that we don't affect their business over there?
We haven't, other than encouraging our vendors to use it. So we do direct anyone who is setting up at the event to use the parking deck. We certainly can increase the language out onto social media as well.
It just might be good to consider because obviously Friday Night Live draws quite a few thousand people, and that's a lot of cars. And
Absolutely.
it would be nice to see people utilizing that deck.
Absolutely.
Alderman McCann.
Thanks. DRP does have a good write-up on their website of parking options downtown, so it's nice that that's around all the time. But yeah, maybe some active reminders for folks would be good.
Absolutely.
All right, so we have a motion to approve the special events permits requests for Friday Night Live events in July, August, and September, pending the signature of City Attorney LaChance. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you very
Thank
much.
you. We hope to see you there.
Next is the Board of Control Commissioners. We have nothing on the agenda. Board of Cannabis Commissioners, we have nothing on the agenda. That brings us to unfinished business. Alderman Barbagallo.
It's not really business, but I'd like to just make a statement. My granddaughter works at Wonderfeet, and on Saturday, I just want this board to know, and the people of the city of Rutland, that at one time in Wonderfeet, there were over 200 people with their families celebrating. And many, many of those folks were from out of town. She said you could not believe the crowd in there. She said when they opened at 10 o'clock, they had 50 people standing there waiting to get in. Rutland is becoming a destination city, to echo what Alderman Gillum said here, I think at the previous meeting about Georgetti Park. We just don't see it because we're such a diversified city. We're not like a Woodstock where everything is tourism. You know, we have shops, we have factories, we have people working in multiple different types of jobs, but Rutland is indeed becoming a destination city.
Thank you. Any additional unfinished business? We'll move on to miscellaneous motions, resolutions, and new business. Alderwoman Tadio had something?
Yes, thank you. So as a newer member of the Board of Aldermen, I've often wondered about what is considered appropriate behavior for board members, and including what our social media policies might be. And so upon research, I found that we do not have a code of conduct. So I would like to refer to the Human Resources Committee the creation of a code of conduct for the Board of Aldermen.
Second.
All right.
Also, if I may, there is a code of ethics that's already written, just so you're aware. I don't know if people have ever read it, but it's there.
Thank you.
All right, so we have a motion to refer discussion of a code of conduct to HR. It's been seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. And Alderman Gillum, you had a hand?
Yes, I wanted to bring up to the public that not every day that we have a business in town is 100 years old. Jones's Donuts is going to be 100 years old this week, and I would like to congratulate them for being around, and this is only the second owners of this establishment being there for 100 years. So I would request that the city mayor do a proclamation for Jones's Donuts. I think you'd be okay with that.
Consider it.
Second.
Can we get donuts?
All right. Alderwoman.
Can I just add to that? In doing a little bit of research for a friend on Jones's Donuts, I found that it started 100 years ago with a great-grandmother going door to door selling donuts.
Selling donuts.
That was kind of cool.
That's great. Should bring that back.
Yeah.
Probably would make a lot of money.
Maybe they could come to the chamber.
Any additional miscellaneous motions, resolutions, or new business? I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion to adjourn. It's been seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. We're adjourned.